Why the Arizona Cardinals will win the Super Bowl in 2019? Make sure to stay tuned to find out. What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'm going to continue my series of why every team will win the Super Bowl this year. And I'm going to repeat this one more time because I know it's going to be people in the comment section that are going to be like, you're a freaking idiot if you think the Arizona Cardinals are going to win the freaking Super Bowl. If you guys haven't watched the previous 3 other videos, I'm doing this for every single team, so I'm going to repeat this one more time, but I know somebody in the comment section is going to say it anyway. You're an idiot if you think the Arizona Cardinals are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm doing this for every single NFL team. Every single NFL team. So, this video, talking about why the Arizona Cardinals will win the Super Bowl in 2019. Now, you may be looking at yourself, and you may be looking at me. Be like, do you really think the Arizona Cardinals can win the Super Bowl? Yes, I do. I think every team can win the Super Bowl. Every team has a chance to win the Super Bowl. It's the NFL. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And we've seen some teams that nobody really expected to win the Super Bowl win Super Bowls. So anything can happen. Look at the New York Giants in 2008. I didn't think they was going to win the Super Bowl back then. Nobody even thought they could win the Super Bowl other than fans. So anything can happen. Anything can happen. Anything can change. And this Arizona Cardinals team, they're not bad. This is actually a pretty solid team. First, we got to look at quarterback Kyler Murray. They took a #1 overall. With Cliff Kingsbury, he fits that offense perfectly. He's probably the most balanced dual-threat quarterback I've ever seen. Every time we see a dual-threat quarterback, he's always a better runner than what he is throwing. He always has to work on his mechanics. Not really accurate. Doesn't really have that strong of an arm. But Kyler Murray has the full package. A dynamic runner, an accurate thrower with a very strong arm. So he can do it all. He can do it all. In this Cliff Kingsbury offense, he's going to have a really big role. Although he's going to be a rookie, he's going to be inexperienced. Cliff Kingsbury, he fits the system perfectly. And if Cliff Kingsbury is what we think he is, as an innovative mind, then I think Kyler Murray is going to be really, really good this season. And you don't have to be an elite quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Nick Foles was a backup quarterback for crying out loud and won the Super Bowl. You just have to be good enough to make plays when plays have to be made, make throws that have to be made at certain times and areas of the game, and you just have to be a solid quarterback. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time to win the Super Bowl. You just have to be good enough and make the plays when they need to be made. And Kyler Murray can do that. He's also dynamic as a runner. So not only is he a solid passer, but he's also a dynamic runner as well. Then people forget David Johnson. David Johnson last season struggled not only because the offensive line wasn't really that good, but also because he didn't really have the best play callers. They fired the play caller at the beginning of the season. Then they replaced him with Byron Leftwich, which Byron Leftwich tried, but he was really inexperienced calling plays as an offensive coordinator, so he couldn't really find ways to utilize David Johnson. In Cliff Kingsbury's system, David Johnson, I can assure you, is going to be utilized in several different ways. He's going to line him out wide. He's going to find ways to get him the ball as a halfback. Cliff Kingsbury is going to find a way to get David Johnson the ball. Most likely it's going to be him doing things as a receiving back because the air raid offense, most of the time, they don't really run the ball that much. They pass the ball pretty much 70% of the time, 30% of the time they run the ball. So David Johnson is going to be just as big as a part of this offense as Kyler Murray. Then you got to look at the receiving core. The receiving core, although they're pretty young, they have a lot of guys who have a lot of upside. First, we got to talk about Larry Fitzgerald, who always finds a way to define Father Time and still keeps on going. Last season, he was held back by Josh Rosen, a terrible play that they had at the quarterback position. But now that he has a guy like Kyler Murray, who's an upgrade from Josh Rosen, and a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, who can find ways to get him the ball, the air raid offense is very effective when you have smart wide receivers, because in the air raid offense, wide receivers have to adjust their routes on the fly and adjust to the coverages of the defense. Larry Fitzgerald has been around in the NFL game for years. He's really experienced. He knows how to attack cornerbacks. So he's going to fit perfectly in this Cliff Kingsbury offense just because of how experienced he is and how smart he is, his football IQ. So he's going to be a really solid piece of his Cliff Kingsbury offense. He's also going to be a wide receiver who can mentor these younger wide receivers and help them develop into good wide receivers. You got Hakeem Butler there. He's going to be a really solid wide receiver. A lot of people have been comparing him to Calvin Johnson and stuff like that. I don't think he's Calvin Johnson, but I think he can be a very solid wide receiver, especially in the red zone of his size. Then we have to talk about Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk had a very solid year. He was probably Josh Rosen's go-to wide receiver. They connected on a lot of big plays last season. So coming into his second year, I think Christian Kirk is going to be in for a pretty productive second season in the NFL in 2019. Then they also got Andy Isabella, who can also be a pretty solid wide receiver in the slot. Then they got guys like Kevin White, Keyshawn Johnson, Chad Williams, who could be wild cards. I think Kevin White getting a fresh start with Cliff Kingsbury, I think he might be able to surprise some people. Then Keyshawn Johnson. A lot of people have been raving about Keyshawn Johnson. I told everybody that Keyshawn Johnson was a sleeper. This was a guy who had better production playing for Fresno State than what Devontae Adams had. So I think Keyshawn Johnson can also be very solid. So although they may be a little bit experienced at the wide receiver position, I still think they will be pretty solid at that position with Cliff Kingsbury's play calling and having Kyler Murray at the quarterback position, who's going to make those guys better. Because that's what you expect with a guy who you take number 1 overall. Not only are you expecting that guy to be the franchise quarterback, but he should also be able to make those players around him better. So he's going to be able to make those players around him. Plus you got David Johnson. Then we got to talk about the offensive line. The offensive line, with Cliff Kingsbury being the head coach and calling the plays, the offensive line should improve compared to what it was last season because they couldn't really do that much of anything. And Josh Rosen wasn't really that much of a help anyway. But with the threat of Kyler Murray being able to run the ball and being able to take it to the house, he's going to be able to keep these defensive ends and these cornerbacks at bay. So they're going to have to look out for his ability to not only pass the ball, beat you through the air, but also run the ball as well. Then they also have some pretty solid offensive tackles. You got DJ Humphries, who was graded as the 40th best offensive tackle in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. He was pretty above average, had a 68.8 grade, which is pretty good, which is above average. That's in the green. They also got off the tackle who should be starting at right tackle, Marcus Gilbert. If he's able to stay healthy, he's going to be a pretty solid offensive tackle at that right tackle position for the Arizona Cardinals. He was pretty solid when he was able to stay healthy with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was graded by Pro Football Focus as the 41st best offensive tackle in the NFL when he was able to stay healthy and had 68.5 overall grade. So it's good that Kyler Murray has 2 good offensive tackles to help him when he drops back in the pocket. An upgrade from what they had to work with last season. You have J.R. Sweezy, Mason Cole, Justin Pugh. Those are guys who have a lot of upside, who haven't really reached their potential. They've really been playing down to what they're capable of playing as. But with Cliff Kingsbury, if he's able to get a lot more out of this offensive line and get them playing to what they should have been, then this offensive line could be very solid and good enough to win the Super Bowl. Then on the defense side of the ball, a lot of people are sleeping on the Arizona Cardinals when it comes to their defense. Their defense is going to be very solid this year. Defensive tackle Darius Philon was very solid last year, had 4 sacks, was graded by Pro Football Focus as the 72nd best defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman in the NFL, and had an above average grade. Anything above 65 is above average according to Pro Football Focus. So he's pretty solid. That nose tackle, he's going to be right next to Corey Peters. He was also pretty solid as well. Had a 69.5 overall grade by Pro Football Focus. Was the 62nd best interior defensive lineman in the NFL last season, had 2.5 sacks, but he's mainly good when it comes to clogging up those running lanes and stopping the run. So they have 2 very good defensive linemen up front. Then we got to look at the pass rushers. We know how good Chandler Jones was, coming off of an all-pro season that he had in 2017. In 2018, he had 13 sacks. I thought he should have made the Pro Bowl. If he was playing for a playoff team, he most definitely should have made the Pro Bowl. And also we got to talk about Terrell Suggs. Although he's up there in age, he's still pretty productive. He's a guy who can get you 6, 7 sacks. He had 7 sacks with the Baltimore Ravens last season. So he's going to be another guy who can contribute to this Arizona Cardinals defense. Then we got to talk about Hassan Reddick. 4 sacks, 80 tackles. A very solid young linebacker. Then middle linebacker Jordan Hicks. According to Pro Football Focus, he was the 10th best linebacker in the NFL last season with an 80.7 overall grade by Pro Football Focus. Then we got to look at the secondary. When Patrick Peterson comes back, he's going to improve that secondary. He was the 5th best cornerback in the NFL last season by Pro Football Focus with an 82.5 overall grade. Then you got young quarterback Byron Murphy. He's going to be asked to step up. I think he will be able to contribute. I think he's going to be really solid. He might struggle, but he's going to be pretty solid for the first couple of weeks until Patrick Peterson comes back, filling out that number 1 cornerback position. Then you got Robert Alford. He was average when he played for Atlanta. He's going to be pretty solid. And then we got to talk about Budda Baker. Budda Baker didn't really have that good of a season, but we know the level that Budda Baker is capable of playing as. And I think for a new coach, a new philosophy on the defense side of the ball, I think Budda Baker is going to be able to bounce back. He's going to be really good. Then you got DJ Swearinger. According to Pro Football Focus, he was the 13th best safety in the NFL last season with 79.8 grade by Pro Football Focus, and I thought he should have went to the Pro Bowl last season. So this Arizona Cardinals team, despite what you may believe, you think they may be the worst team in the NFL, but this team may be able to surprise you, and they could end up winning the Super Bowl. Don't sleep on them. Them defense is really good. They're going to have innovative offensive mind like a Cliff Kingsbury, a new offense, a guy like Kyler Murray who can do a lot. He's a threat passing the ball, also a threat run the ball as well, and all the players fit well into the system. And if the offensive line plays better than what they did last year, if they play solid, this Arizona team could be really scary, and they could end up winning the Super Bowl. And this is why the Arizona Cardinals can win the Super Bowl in 2019. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.